So what I'll ask you to do is, I will count to three, 1, 2, 3. When I say three, I would like you to say out loud, hello, my name is, whatever your name is. So just repeat, 1, 2, 3, hello, my name is Vikram, right? Are we ready for it? 1, 2, 3, hello, my name is Vikram. Good. That came out better than I had expected. Thank you for that. Now we're going to play around with it a bit. So now I'm going to ask you to imagine that you've been informed that you have a new CEO. And he was a CEO previously from the bad bank. He likes command and control. He likes procedures. He likes silos. He likes waterfall. He's in love with it. So you are about to announce to your team or to the company that the new CEO is coming in. So it's very bad news, actually. So I want you to, at the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, say the same sentence you just said, but then you know that you're going to announce that he's the next CEO. I'll give you an example. Hello, my name is Vikram, because I know I'm going to tell you bad news. Shall we do it? 1, 2, 3. Hello, my name is Vikram. Good group. Fantastic. Last exercise, then we'll close. Now you've got fantastic news to tell. The new CEO is the CEO of an internet bank. He's coming in. It's all about Scrum, agile, responsive, and you're going to announce that to your team. So I'm assuming you're very enthusiastic, right? So there we go again. 1, 2, 3. Hello, my name is Vikram. Great. Thank you for that. Thank you. So the good thing about this exercise is you know my name. I'll tell you in a brief of who I am and why are you looking at an Indian guy standing and telling you about responsive enterprise. You must be wondering, who is this weird guy? The weird part is true. I'm CEO of Prowareness. I will not make any big thing about it. No, geen reclame. We are a Dutch-based company. We have operations in the Netherlands, India, where we have a bunch of agile studios, as we call them from today. And we have consultants in the Netherlands and Germany and India as well. I've set up multiple companies which I have sold off to bigger organizations because they were in search of responsiveness. And most of these companies were bought up because of their responsive culture. That was the key thing they were bought for. With the money I earned from those sales, I'm investing in startups. And because I love investing in startups because they're very close to where it happens with the customer. If somebody is responsive, it's startups. So I love being associated with them. So that's a bit about me. I come from India. I was born and grown up over there. Actually, to tell you a secret, I was not born in India. I was born in Pakistan. And that's one of the worst things that can happen to you as an Indian person, to be born in Pakistan. So I've survived that, and that helps me to become a CEO later on in life, I guess. You must be wondering, why is this guy using ants? What's the thing there? I'm personally convinced that we can learn a lot from startups, we can learn a lot from thought leaders, but we can also learn a lot from the nature. And ants have very complex adaptive systems. And if somebody is responsive, it's the ants. So I'll be sharing some examples on how ants do it. Maybe we can learn from it, maybe not. I'll just share with you what we can learn from them as far as I'm concerned. If I haven't said enough about myself, I have recorded with this fantastic gentleman over here, Rini van Zonlingen, a book which is coming out on not 11th of September, but 9th of September. It's coming out this is the Dutch cover, but it's coming out in English. And the nice thing about this talk is, if you listen to what I say, you don't have to read the book. So if we will share this presentation, by the way, with everybody. So you don't have to take notes. If you're not listening, or if you're looking at your telephone, or you're falling asleep, then you'll have to buy the book. It'll be available right outside, especially for you. What I'll be using is, next to the theory, which I'll share with you in a second. I'll be using my experiences as an entrepreneur. I'll be using examples from famous companies I think most of you have heard, and I'll be using examples from Mark Andreessen, who has read the article called Software Eats the World. Whoa, that's... If you are here today, if you want to do one thing, don't listen to the rest of what I say. Read that article. Software Eats the World. It's heavy stuff. It's what is going to go on. It's predicting the future. I'll come back to Andreessen in a second. I'll share with you what his learning is, what his main message is. But if you do something, read that thing. So I'll be using his insights. I'll be using Deborah Gordon. Deborah Gordon has done 20 years of research on ants. If you can do that, you're a genius. And what she has learned, I'll share a couple of stories with you, what she has learned from her research and how we can use that in our daily lives to become more responsive. But before I do that, I just want to sketch a bit of a context with you. The essence of what we're going to do with responsive enterprise is in the end. It's over here. But I'll start here. Very long ago, I'm not telling you some news, I know that our ancestors were hunters. So if they had need of food, they would go outside, kill something, eat the damn thing, right? So there was no concept of a supplier and a client. You were your own supplier, you were your own client. Then some time later on, a guy thought up of being a farmer. So we would cultivate crops, we would sell them. So that was the first time in human history that there was a distinction between a customer and a supplier. It was a close relationship because farmer would be somebody in your village where you would go and buy your stuff. But then came Industrial Revolution. People thought they should produce stuff efficiently. What happened with the Industrial Revolution is that the distance between a supplier and consumer became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. At a certain point in time, if you were to buy, that's the phase I call over here, the phase I call here mass urbanization. I've skipped guilds, which came after farmers, and Industrial Revolution, which only intensified what was going to happen here. In mass urbanization, we were buying products we don't know who designed them, what was the idea behind them, where could you find out more information, and what was the product all about. So you bought something you did not know where it was made. If you needed some information about it, you'd be calling a help desk, and with some chance, it'd be somebody in India answering your call. So you can imagine that scenario. So the distance between the supplier and the customer was huge, huge. And with the upcoming of internet and modern technology, what we are doing right now is decreasing that distance exponentially. You are able to, with modern technology, be a friend of your customer even. And that's what modern technology is making available. And I think that's the essence of responsive enterprise. Being very close to, first of all, who you are, but second of all, people who are buying stuff from you. So that's the context within which I will share my thoughts and my experiences with you. In essence, we are moving from left to right. What responsive organizations are all about is here: agility, gamification, light management, intrinsic motivation, moving more and more away from strong procedures, heavy management, departments, waterfall, and all that kind of stuff. So that's the concretization of what I just said. Low responsiveness index on the left, a higher one on the right. So these are, as far as we are concerned, Rini and myself, the forces behind responsive enterprises. I'll give you some time to go through it, because if I start talking now, I'll distract you. What I'll be sharing with you one by one is what that force means. And before I do that, I have a question. Who was paying attention at high school in physics class? Then I have a good chance that I will get answer to my following question. What is Newton's second law of motion? Yeah, you're almost there. Every action has equal but opposite reaction. This is one of the laws, but this is not the one I'm looking for. Exactly. Mass is slow. It's all about mass and acceleration. Maybe you can't read it back there, so I'll say it out loud. Acceleration is about the sum of forces acting on a body divided by the mass it has. To translate it into common, understandable stuff, this is a car. Maybe a very Fred Flintstone version of it. The forces which are acting on the car lead to acceleration. The mass of the car decreases acceleration. So if we replace acceleration by responsiveness, that's pretty much the thoughts I'm going to share with you now. So as far as I'm concerned, these are forces which help in making an organization more responsive. Give me a chance to go through it one by one. First one. Force one is a responsive organization is extremely customer-centric. So everybody talks about customer centricity, but responsive organizations take it to the next level. They are extremely customer-centric. They are fast, easy to do business with, fun, even to do business with, have empowered employees dealing with the customers. So they don't need to check 10 echelons up what's allowed and what's not allowed. Are almost a friend of your customer and are obsessed with customer experience. A lot of you, I think, don't speak Dutch, right? Can the people who don't speak Dutch raise their hands? Okay. I will be responsive because the next thing I want to show you is in Dutch. So I'm trying to be responsive. At the end, when the video is over, I'll translate the essence of it in English.
Genoeg is vandaag zijn eigen bezorgdienst gestart. We zijn stiekem al weken mee bezig, maar vandaag zijn we echt officieel live. We hebben 15 bussen op de weg, met erin 2 sterke mannen die spullen bezorgen bij het huis. Denk met name aan wasmachines, koelkasten, vriezers, alles waar je grote sterke moet zijn.
Nee, we doen nog niet alles zelf. Op dit moment doen we 1 op de 10 witgoedbezorgingen in Nederland helemaal zelf. We zijn begonnen in Brabant en doen een klein stukje van Limburg. En we werken keihard om uit te breiden naar heel Nederland. En we onderzoeken of dit ook in België mogelijk is. We doen dit natuurlijk om onze obsessieve focus op klanttevredenheid. Dat laatste stukje naar die klant, die laatste kilometer, daar hebben we nog te weinig invloed. En vooral met grote apparaten is het echt belangrijk dat je dat goed aanpakt. Want je komt bij die klant over de vloer. We willen daar echt verwonderen. Klanten gaan echt blij maken.
Het grote verschil met bezorging van anderen is vandaag besteld, morgen in huis. Op een tijdstip van een uur, maar vooral ook de bezorgers zelf. Het zijn namelijk echte koebloers. Mannen die niet alleen bij moeder, maar zelfs bij oma met een gerust hart over de vloer sturen.
De klant krijgt een link toegestuurd per mail. Daarmee kunnen ze ons live volgen waar we zijn. We proberen van tevoren een tijdsvenster van 1 uur aan te houden. Dus van tevoren zou ik voorgeven aan. We komen tussen 1 en 2 uur. En dan bellen we een half uurtje voor aankomst, geven aan. Zo laat zijn we precies, zodat de klant exact weet wanneer we beginnen.
Een kleine, doch bijzonder relevante innovatie die we hebben gemaakt is de we komen sowieso garantie. We komen sowieso, en als we er zijn en je mocht toch niet open doen, dus dan schreeuwen door de brievenbus, we bellen 6 keer aan, we zullen zelfs een foto maken van de voordeur om te bewijzen dat we echt geweest zijn. Wij komen sowieso.
We treffen alle oude apparaten aan zonder
stond ik hier eigenlijk helemaal niks te doen. We bellen aan, we brengen hem helemaal zonder, we sluiten hem aan, we testen meteen of hij werkt, nemen je oude mee naar huis, bevalt het product of niet, dan komen we ook eens weer gratis ophalen.
Niet alleen is deze bezorging gratis, je krijgt er ook nog eens een brochure uit. Wat erin zit, ja, dan moet je wel zien kopen. Dan weet je wat erin zit.
Okay, so I'll share with you the next slide while I explain in English what was just shared. Coolblue is the Dutch version of Amazon, if I may say so. And they are so obsessed with their customer service that they say, we don't want to outsource the logistics service which happens in the end, because that is a part of the Coolblue service. They want to do it themselves. And so that Coolblue is coming to you in your house and wants to give that experience of who Coolblue really is in your house. So that's the difference between being customer-centric and being extremely customer-centric. Taking that one step forward, translate that mission which you have into an inspiring mission statement, so that you collect to your customers not only at a rational level, but also at emotional level, and differentiate from the crowd, differentiate yourself from the crowd in the process. If you think of your best friend for a second, just 1 second, think of who your best friend is. There are differences between you two, but there must be a lot of similarities. A lot of times, you think the same about the stuff which is happening around you. So there is a certain part, a recognition of the reality when you talk to each other. If that's not there, friendship becomes a hard thing to maintain. So the challenge is how to become friend with your customers. Harvard Business Review has done some very nice research in November of last year when they talk about new science of customer emotions. What they do is they said that there are 10 hooks with which you can hook to your customer. And every company has one or more of those hooks. And you should be aware of those hooks. And if you're aware of those hooks and you use them, obviously when you're genuine about them, if you use those hooks, you not only have an experience that the customer is happy with you, but you also have a connection with them on an emotional level. Because whatever you do, the customer will say, well, yeah, exactly, that's what I want. But it's not being responsive, it's being the same. Because you think the same, you think you understand each other better. So I'll share with you the 10 things Harvard Business Review had said what your intrinsic desires are as a consumer. I will talk about a couple. Stand out from the crowd, distinguish yourself from the others. That's an intrinsic motivation of some of the customers, some people. And it's your job as an organization to latch on to that intrinsic motivation. Confidence in the future, enjoy a sense of well-being, feel a sense of freedom, sense of thrill, feel a sense of belonging, protect the environment, be the person I want to be, feel secure, succeed in life. So what Harvard Business Review is saying, all of us have one or two or three of these intrinsic motivations. And the way we choose our suppliers and who our suppliers are has got a lot to do with where we stand on this scale, or at least in this table. I'll give you a few examples. Have you heard of Patagonia? Who's heard of Patagonia? Yeah. So what do they do? Yeah. Expensive designer outdoor clothing. But what makes them really special is their mission statement. And especially the last 4 or 5 words of the sentence which are there. Implement solutions to the environmental crisis. So what they do is they recycle, when they produce outdoor clothes, they do a lot of recycling of old clothes. I've even heard they sometimes send you an email saying you just bought a jacket 1 year ago, so please don't buy a new one this year. talking about being true to your mission. So there are people who have this, protect the environment, on the number one desire, intrinsic motivation. So you can guess where they buy their clothes. So it not only helps to stick in the mind of your customers, but also it's a tremendous boost to your employees because suddenly they have a mission in life when they go to work. They just don't go to employer, they are going to change the world. Airbnb, that's the last one I'm going to share. The other two, I'll leave it for what they are. Airbnb, belong anywhere. That matches to sense of belonging, that you can feel at home anywhere in the world. So every time Airbnb communicates something, they have to realize, if they want to be responsive, that this is their hook with their customers. And that's the hook they have to emphasize, underscore, with people they're dealing with. Third force, have autonomous mini companies. They're also called tribes. Previously, I think if you can say it easily, in industrial revolutions, and still if you look at most organizations who are big, they are created to be efficient. It's all about efficiency. I was talking to a purchaser of a very big petroleum company in the Netherlands, not to name any names, and the responsibility of this guy is to buy PCs as cheaply as possible. But that's very old-fashioned, I feel. Obviously, you should look at where you can be more efficient. But the battle which is out there is all about effectivity. Especially if you look back at a couple of points we just discussed, it's all about getting into the hearts of people. It's all about being a friendly relationship with your customers. It's less and less about efficiency. So I was kind of feeling sad for him that he was burdened with that job to make the company rigorously efficient. I'm not saying you should not be efficient, but I think focus should be somewhere else. And that automatically happens if you split your company into sub-companies which have their own profit and loss, but still come out from the same DNA. So it's like brothers and sisters. Think the same, or have the same upbringing, but have their own personalities. They compete, but are not competitors. Learned that from Rini. What do I mean by they compete and are not competitors is that you can compare one mini company, one tribe to another on certain aspects, but they're not there in the same market. What we have done in Prowareness is we have split ourselves into multiple mini companies and divided ourselves by every region has a team. So suppose Amsterdam has a team, and they are dedicatedly serving the Amsterdam market. And there's another team which is doing Rotterdam and blah, blah, blah. So they compete with each other, so like who's doing better in this and who's doing better in that, but they're not approaching the same customers. And you can learn a lot from each other in that. But it's never the case that if somebody from a mini company goes to a customer, he has to escalate 10 echelons upwards to make a decision. The guy on the spot or the girl on the spot should be able to decide on everything. And that you can only do if you put the profit and loss responsibility at the lowest possible level, even maybe at individual level, but that's taking it perhaps too far. Another advantage of that is that employees recognize themselves in the group where they work. So in that sense, you know that in our case, we want the teams to be maximum 10 people big. Recently, we've scaled up a bit, and that's noticeable. People are losing themselves in the big crowd. So time has come for us to even split further. So that people recognize the people who are working with Prowareness recognize themselves in the group they're working with. And that's also very added advantage of having mini companies. Make everything extremely transparent so that data is available to all, no barriers to communication, information close by to everybody, so that you make possible decentral decision making, as I say. How do we do it at Prowareness? Is we have a wall of transparency where everything which matters, data, backlogs, whatever matters, are shared commonly. It's open to everybody what the stuff is we're working on, what the company backlog is, what the team backlog is, what the improvement backlog is. Not only that, but what the salaries are. So my salary is on the wall of transparency. And it's interesting to see how most people react when I show them wall of transparency. Suppose this is it. So I say, yeah, this is wall of transparency. Everybody's salary is in there. Everything is open. Most people, most visitors, take a step back. They're not used to it. So you can go close. It's okay. It's not biting. But apparently it does. So in that sense, it's extremely important to be transparent. Even in India, where you might say that's not the culture. And I did have a very heavy conversation with my director in India when we started up the operations here in India. And you can imagine how the dialogue goes, right? So both of us in Indian accents, I said, Rahul, I think everything should be transparent. He said, no, Vikram, you can't do it in this country. I said, Rahul, watch me do it. He said, Vikram, are you crazy? I think we work crazy, and the salaries are there, it's open, and it's working just fine. So human beings can handle much more transparency than we think.
So really the question...
This is an example on how ants do it. So now Deborah Gordon comes up, and I will share with you how they are transparent and what kind of value it adds.
So really the question that I think about with these ants is what I call task allocation. That's not just how is the colony organized, but how does it change what it's doing? How is it that the colony manages to adjust the numbers of workers performing each task as conditions change? So things happen to an ant colony. When it rains in the summer, it floods in the desert. There's a lot of damage to the nest, and extra ants are needed to clean up that mess. When extra food becomes available, and this is what everybody knows about picnics, then extra ants are allocated to collect the food. So with nobody telling anybody what to do, how is it that the colony manages to adjust the numbers of workers performing each task? And that's the process that I call task allocation.
So what she's saying in essence, ants have 4 roles: foragers, patrollers, nest maintenance, and midden workers. So patrollers go out in search of food, and if they find food, they come back. Then the foragers go out, collect the food. Nest maintenance is the upkeep of the nest itself, building new walls, building new cells, and stuff like that. And midden work is cleaning the existing nets. So how the ants work is they don't see a lot. They are practically blind. So if they run into another ant, they exchange with the antennas. What are you doing? So I'm cleaning. Run into another one. So what are you doing? I'm foraging. So run into another one. Foraging. Also foraging. Also foraging. So, oh my God, it's time to forage. There is enough food. So that's the important thing about being transparent on what you're doing and what needs to be done. I'll skip this in lieu of time. Has an experimentation process. I think one of the most important thing is experiment. So one of the things is thousands of experiments a day. So definition of experiment, it should be a process, not a coincidence to experiment. It's okay to fail. Failing is good. And time to learn. So the organizations who have the shortest time to learn excel, and the organizations who take more time will obviously also excel, but just a little bit less. I'll move on to this. We recently went to Silicon Valley with a bunch of our very valued customers. And one of the biggest learnings from Silicon Valley, which we came back, is it's all about chess versus Angry Birds. No chess, more Angry Birds. Can you imagine what the difference is? Sorry?
Planning versus experimentation.
Exactly. So one is heavy on planning, strategizing, thinking in advance, trying to judge the move of the opponent. And second one is all about trying. Doesn't work out, try once more. Doesn't work out, try once more. So the message which we came back with is the more you try, the more chances you have. It's like saying the more girls you ask to go out with you, the more chances of somebody saying yes in the end, right? So that's the kind of thing. We do it in our personal life, perhaps we don't do it in our business lives. Self-management, that's a big part of being responsive. What we're saying with self-management is appeal to the intrinsic motivations of your people. In the old days, the company had a 5-year plan, the department had a plan, your team had a plan, and in the end, if you had a plan or not, nobody cared. So what we say to ourselves is, everybody has to have a plan. Not only at what you want to do in your professional life, but also in an emotional plan. How about that? Physical plan at home. If you don't create a plan for yourself, obviously you become part of somebody else's plan. So you can imagine that if you have a plan, and a lot of people in a company have a plan, and only thing which a responsive company needs to do is put money, resources, whatever, behind that plan. So more people with a plan, more plans in the company. No one plan. In our case, everybody has a plan, more or less. We don't push people, we don't torture them if they don't, but we tell them, what are the chances, what's going to happen to you if you don't have a plan? Think about it. Since shortly we have a concept called Dragon's Den, where our employees who have an idea can stand up, say, I want to start a company within Prowareness based on this. And we apply lean startup principles to give them some funding, take the next step, give them another set of funding, take the next step, and see, my ideal dream would be that at the end of a couple of years, we have 5 to 10 mini companies within Prowareness, people who had the idea, started it, and are running it themselves. This guy, Kevin Gibbs, who's heard of him? 2 guys, good. 3. This is a product of 20% time. A lot of people say that 20% time has been abolished in Google, but that's not the case. We were in the Silicon Valley, we were talking to them, they still have it. So this guy used the 20% time to say, I have an idea, and this is the idea he has, and all of us use today in Google, actually. It's called autocomplete. So if you're searching, it autocompletes. So this guy did not have to go 10 echelons up to get that idea okayed and have a big investment plan. He just showed it, people came, started contributing to the idea, and today it's one of the most used features of Google search. So I think that's, for such a big company, it's very good that they can get this out. Scaling, that's a big thing. It's easy to start a self-organizing team, but how do you scale the damn thing? Now that's important material. You can scale in 2 ways. You can scale by saying we split every time it becomes too big, which works in our case. Another theory on scaling is the ambassador theory. You pick somebody's out, you fly them out, they start their own company. They are going out of your DNA pool, they're using the same cultural values, and they start a new company. So the alignment is not at process level anymore. Alignment is not at plan level anymore. Alignment is at a deeper level. That's where you look for alignment. So in that sense, that's how ants do it. I will share.
And then the newly mated queens fly off somewhere, drop their wings, dig a hole, and go into that hole and start laying eggs, and they will live for 15 or 20 years, continuing to lay eggs using the sperm from that original mating. So the queen goes down in there, she lays eggs, she feeds the larvae, so an ant starts as an egg, then it's a larva. She feeds the larvae by regurgitating from her fat reserves. Then as soon as the first group of ants emerge, their larvae, then their pupae, then they come out as adult ants, they go out, they get the food, they dig the nest, and the queen never comes out again.
Okay. Obviously, there's a lot more to be shared on how to scale properly, how to do it the right way, how to do it the wrong way, how to create bigger tribes and stuff like that. But what I'm talking about is the initiation of how you do that. One of the few things we feel that you should organize is have a relentless rhythm of learning. Only thing we do centrally at Prowareness is force people to drop their whatever they're doing and have a retrospective, big retrospective once a month. It does not go perfect every time. We are getting bigger, so that's posing challenges right now. But every first Tuesday of the month, everybody comes together, analyzes what went well. We get feedback from our customers. We get them in. They say what we are doing well and what we are screwing up on. And after that, we make changes to ourselves. What are the changes we're going to make comes out of a retrospective like this. And one of the biggest thing is, the fun thing is if you can gamify that, if you can make it feel like a game instead of some serious exercise, more creativity comes out. One of the last forces is, this is where Mark Andreessen comes in, become software and data centric. It is much easier to be responsive based on software and data centricity. We all know the example of Amazon, which suggests you new books based on the books you have ordered earlier, but you can make much more out of it than that example only. For example, a supermarket could say, in an algorithm, say, the vegetables are nearing their expiry date, why don't we decrease their price automatically? So if you can put that in an algorithm, you can be much more responsive for that little thing. And like that little thing, you can have thousands of algorithms running within your company, and that's making you more responsive. And obviously, data centricity has also got a lot to do with that. This is the guy, Mark Andreessen, I was talking about. I recommended read this article once more. I have no shares in what he does, but it's good stuff. Last, decrease the mass. So we talked all about the forces on the top, but how do you decrease the mass? We made some suggestions over there. What is mass? Age of products. If you're not innovating enough, if the products are not that young, products of the competitors are younger, you have a problem. You have a lot of bureaucracy in your system. People have to ask permission for everything, or for a lot of things. Bureaucracy. I think we talked a bit about giving people more freedom, and that's got to do with decreasing the bureaucracy. Age of the company. We feel that in a couple of years, 4 or 5 years, average age of the company will be 5 to 6 years. So either you radically change as a company, or you maybe should abolish yourself. We sometimes have conversations within our companies, so like, what's the right time to abolish ourselves? I think that's a valid discussion. The rest, I'll leave to what it is. I'll close off with this. We have gone through a lot of forces which make you more responsive, gone through some examples of how to decrease your mass. So in one sentence, one formula, if you want to increase your responsiveness, decrease your mass, work on the forces which accelerate you forward. That was it.
All right, any questions for Vikram? There's a question over there. I'll bring the throw box for it, because I can't throw.
Okay, I want to go back, want you to go back to the first slide where you showed all the forces, and wanted to just understand, is there any significance of the fonts that you have used for each of those forces?
I don't know which slide you mean. So
This one, yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
So what's the question?
Is there any significance of the fonts that you have used for each of the forces?
Well, the idea behind this is start with putting customers in the heart of the thing, and the rest of the forces are forces around it. But the major thing is be a friend of your customer, become extremely customer-centric.
I agree. But yeah, but there is no such, that this is more important, or there's no such thing like that.
No.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Catch it?
Well, I totally agree with this. Thanks for the presentation, by the way. the customer-centric part, but in the end of the presentation, you also said that your organization has to be development-centric. How did you say that?
Personal development, you mean?
Yeah. And I mean, if I say those two things within my organization, they're going to be like, okay, what do you want? Do you want to be customer-centric or do you want to be development-centric?
Oh,
You understand?
Yeah, I do. But the nice thing is...
I understand it, so how should I bring the message within my company?
But so the question is, how do you do that, or?
Yeah, well, I understand that if I tell them I was at this presentation and I've seen that we have to be more customer-centric, but on the other hand, we also have to be development-centric or software development-centric. How should I tell that?
Oh, you mean software development-centric?
Yeah.
I think both of them should go in hand. So more software you have in your business model, the more customer-centric you can become.
All right.
So you're storing all the preferences, you're analyzing the data, and you can almost predict what that person is going to buy, for example.
Yeah. Right.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, then, again, thank you very much, Vikram. Here's a small gift for you. You know what it is.
Thank you.